Hi, this is Johannes with Glassbox. And in this video, I want to show you 3 features of Dragonfly for Unreal that I think when you're just starting out with Dragonfly, you're going to want to know about. These features are snapshots, platforming, and recording speed. Let's take a look at them. The first one is snapshots. Snapshots are located in the operator main menu, just below the camera settings, and they are kind of like bookmarks in space and time that remember individual starting frames for shots. So let's create one. Let's hit create snapshot, and this creates an entry here with a little thumbnail. And this entry contains everything that's relevant about this shot, like where my camera is in this shot, what my sequence position is like, what my camera settings are like, and simply by clicking go to and restore, I can restore this at any time. I can create more of them. Let's say I have another shot using a different lens here, slightly narrower, maybe we are a little bit further back, and then our animation is in a different position. We can create a new snapshot, and now we can go back and forth between these 2 separate snapshots at any time. You can also name these snapshots, and if you are working across multiple levels, you can filter whether you want to display all snapshots in this project or just the ones that apply to the current level. You may also notice that as we are adding a bunch of snapshots here, this window starts to scroll. That may not be super convenient for you. So firstly, you can collapse these snapshots into a shorter list, and you can also completely detach this section into its own little panel so that you can, for example, store it over here. So we can use these snapshots for scene scouting. For example, let's create one here at the very beginning of our sequence with these robots just coming out of this room. And on a longer lens, hit create snapshot. And then maybe another one where we are really close to this robot. And so by doing this, we are using snapshots as a scene scouting tool. Let's quickly talk about why there are 2 buttons, go to and restore. Most of the time, you will probably always hit both of them together, but snapshots store a lot of data, and these 2 buttons allow you to be more deliberate about how you want to access that data. The go to button specifically contains the camera position, right? So that includes where the camera is in the world. It also includes camera rotation. You see that we just panned a little bit here, different position as well. And it also contains platforming targets. And then the restore button contains all the camera settings. So you can see that between these 2 shots, we are changing our focal length, right? So that's on the camera setting. And it also contains our sequence position. So you can see that our sequence is changing here. But again, we're not changing position because that's stored in the go to button. Yeah, so if you, for example, want to move the camera to a different position without modifying the camera settings itself, like the focal length, then you can just go to and retain all your camera settings. Snapshots are also really useful just for efficiency's sake. One thing we can do with them is we can start a recording here, right? And maybe I'm immediately unhappy with this recording, but rather than resetting my camera position and my animation sequence and all of that manually, I can just hit go to and restore again. I'm back at my starting frame. I can give it another try, right? Maybe this is more like what I wanted to do, or maybe I do need another try even. Again, just click to and restore, save the setup time, just hit record again and give it another try. And then of course I can quickly deal with those takes by going to the review panel, selecting the first 2 of these takes that I wasn't happy with. The 3rd one was better. Can apply a bit of smoothing here. And by working in this way, I can get to a usable recording super quickly without having to manually reset all the time. Let's talk about the second feature that I wanted to show you, and that's platforming. Platforming allows you to attach yourself to an actor in the scene. So let's say I want to follow this robot around as it is bringing out this chair into the garden. And rather than manually following, what I can do is I can go to this platforming selection interface here in the operator main, select this picker, select my robot, I can also select which part of the robot I want to bind to. Doesn't matter too much in this case, but let's say the head. And now as I scrub through the sequence, you can see how Dragonfly automatically brings me along with the movement of this animated actor. I can still freely move my camera, right? Like I'm not locked to this exact view, but what that gives me is the ability to focus on how I want my camera to move while my position is generally informed by the movement of this actor in the scene. It's a really, really helpful tool for follow shots. It can also be helpful for a bunch of other shots. For example, we could create a dolly tool and attach our camera to the dolly like that. We could animate a spline through the environment. We could also create a shot inside a moving vehicle. I don't have a vehicle here, but let's just pretend one of these robots is our spaceship. We are going to be super, super small in this example, right? So let's just say we are sitting on the edge of this robot as it is flying down. I'm going to kill our scaling completely so we don't fall off, essentially, right? And then I'm again going to select this robot as our platforming target, select which component to bind to, and then I'm also going to update this snapshot by right-clicking and clicking update so that this snapshot now remembers that we are platformed to this robot. And we can create a recording right here. So let's hit record. This is us moving down with the robot. We can also enable another option here, which is also mirroring the rotation. You can see that with this setting, we are only following the robot around, but we're not rotating in the scene with it, right? We can change this though by also clicking this little icon here, which will mirror the rotation of the platforming target as well, in addition to the position. Again, I can still move completely freely. It's just that my frame of reference is now moving and rotating together with the robot. So here's our little view from the robot's rim as we are flying into this giant house from our miniature perspective. So that's platforming. Again, there's a lot of creative things that you can do with platforming, but I think these examples will get you started with the basics. And then finally, let's take a look at the third feature, which is recording speed. Recording speed is super helpful when you're taking shots that have fast moving action in them. For example, in this particular sequence, these robots are coming out of this window, and if I'm trying to do a tracking shot of them, that's really, really difficult. However, what I can do is I can slow my animation down as it is playing back. To do that, I will go down to the recording section, and there's this recording speed value here, and I will put this to a higher number, which means that now our animation is going to play back at a 1/7 of its original speed. Let's take a look at what that looks like. I am going to hit record here, and you can see that now my robots are flying out of this window super, super slowly. I have a lot of time to get this tracking shot right. I'll play this back for you in a minute, and you will see that this is not actually a slow motion shot that I'm creating. In fact, this is going to play back at the correct speed based on the original sequence time. It's just that I gave myself a lot better reaction here to be able to do this shot. Let's take a look at it in review. With shots recorded like this, you should always apply a little bit of smoothing to it. Let's play it back. So this is the shot that we just recorded. You can see it's a perfectly smooth and tracked shot of this little robot flying through the air, which would have been very difficult, probably taken a lot of tries without modifying the recording speed. Let's quickly take a look at what this shot looks like without smoothing, just to understand how this process works. So you can see there's a lot of camera shake here. That's because I'm basically compressing all my handheld shake into a 1/7 of its original time. But again, just by applying a little bit of smoothing, we can take care of that and get to the smooth tracking shot that we are looking for. You don't have to use recording speed in such an extreme fashion. You can also use recording speed at a more subtler value, right? Maybe it is just 1.5 or something like that, just giving you a little bit more time to be able to frame your shots properly. That's personal preference, but yeah, that's what recording speed does. So these three features, snapshots, platforming, and recording speed, are hopefully going to make the process more efficient and more fun when you are creating shots with Dragonfly in Unreal Engine.